32. Let's just read it out of the textbook. It says, Snowball's chance. Jake stores a small cache of 4-inch diameter snowballs in the basement freezer, unaware that the freezer self-defrosting feature will cause each snowball to lose about 1 cubic inch of volume every 40 days. He remembers them a year later, which is 360 days, right? And goes to retrieve them. What is the diameter then? And we already know the answer is 3.6 because Mr. Adams has a fancy teacher book. But how do we show that? Well, what we need to do is we need to write down the information. It says it starts at for problem number 32. We start off at 4 inches is the diameter of the snowball, and it takes about 40 days to lose 1 inch, right? So we lose 1 inch. Whoops, I misspelled inch somehow. It's 1 inches. It's just 1 inch. I'm tired. So now probably there's some sort of composite function or something that we could do. Well, this is just like the one example problem. Remember the angioplasty thing that we did? It's the exact same thing, but backwards, right? So let's remember that the volume of a sphere is 4/3 pi r cubed, right? And so what we want to do then is, if the diameter is this, then the radius was 2 inches, right? Does that make sense? So what was the original volume? Well, the original volume then would be 4/3 times pi times 2 cubed. And if you were to plug that in your calculator, it would be pretty close to 33.5 inches cubed. Well, the new volume, right, that's what this is the size of it when you put them in the freezer. The new volume would be the original volume, 33.5 minus T. And so let's make a little side note that we'll let T represent the number of days, 40 day periods, right? Because it loses 1 inch every 40 days. So we'll say 40-day periods where it loses 1 inch. All right. Oh, one thing I forgot to write down is he left it in the freezer 360 days. Let me read this again, because as I look at it, let's read this question again, because I just want to make sure. So it loses, here's the thing that I didn't catch the first time. Read it again. Jake stores a small cache of 4-inch diameter snowballs in the basement freezer, unaware the freezer self-defrosting feature will cause each snowball to lose 1 cubic inch of volume. I didn't catch it the first time. I thought it was 1 inch in diameter or 1 inch in the circumference, but it's the volume. Every 40 days. So what that means is, after 360 days, this is the volume, it will lose. So in other words, what does T equal? 360 divided by 40, which is 9. So at after 1 year, 33.5 minus 9, what is it? 24.5?
Yeah.
So the volume of the snowball is smaller. So now how do I find the radius or the diameter of this thing? Well, I would say the volume is equal to 4/3 pi r cubed. And so what I would do is I would take, I can algebraically solve for r, right? So I would take the cube root, and so I would have to multiply by the reciprocal of this. So I would get, I think, what is it, like 3v over 4 pi, right? Is that right? Okay. So now if I plug those numbers in, if I get the cube root of 3 times the volume, which is 24.5, all over 4 pi, I get about 1.8 inches. Now this is the radius, right? So the radius of this thing equals 1.8 inches. So what would the diameter be? Yeah. So at the beginning I have a 4-inch diameter. 360 days later I have a 3.6-inch diameter. So it's still a fairly decent sized snowball, right?